Hey, welcome back to the Infinite Woman Universe Show. I'm your host, Angela, and today I am sharing with you why you might struggle with self-sabotage. So if you struggle with self-sabotage, make sure that you stay tuned. I'm Angela. I'm a trauma healer and self-sabotage slayer. I help women entrepreneurs release the past and slay self-sabotage so that they can live on their terms and do business their way. I am no stranger to self-sabotage. I have destroyed a totally successful business, or it was headed that way, and destroyed it. I've destroyed relationships out of self-sabotage. I have done a lot of things out of self-sabotage, even with my weight and all of those things that you know that you do when you're feeling good and you're feeling happy and you're feeling like things are actually working, and suddenly it becomes not enough, or you do things that you don't even realize that you're doing. Like you signed a client, or you're really happy, so then you kind of let your morning routine slip. You start to not do the things that make you happy. And I'm not talking about things that you kind of do once in a while because you're on vacation or because your partner wanted you to sleep in or whatever, but I'm talking about all of a sudden one day you slip, and then it becomes 2 days, and then it becomes 3 days, and then so on and so on. That is essentially self-sabotage. And I'm not talking about self-sabotage where you're scrolling through, social media and you're procrastinating out of self-sabotage. I understand that people do that, but the truth is that that's not really self-sabotage. That's a different game. That's actually resistance, and I will leave a video for you here on how to release resistance, because that is going to be a huge component. There's a whole slew of things that go into self-sabotage. It's not just one piece or one thing. There's a whole bunch of reasons, and a lot of coaches say it's because we don't feel worthy or we don't feel good enough, and that's one piece of it. Okay, and all of this ultimately comes down to childhood trauma and unhealthy childhood conditioning. So before we even get into why you self-sabotage, these are main components of it. And so if you are not working on healing your childhood trauma, or you're not working on unlearning your unhealthy childhood conditioning, then it doesn't matter what the rest of it is. You must work on this. Otherwise, you will continue to self-sabotage. You will always, destroy your relationships, destroy your success, always believe that you're not good enough or unworthy. And so because those are components of it, we can't just focus on this piece and not the whole picture. So I want you to be aware that these two components, the trauma and the childhood conditioning, create this big picture. And so we have to get to the root of it, right? Otherwise, the rest of this work, it's useless. It's pointless. So the point is heal and unlearn. This will ultimately help you release all self-sabotage. And I know that this doesn't sound super sexy, and I know that this doesn't sound like your 5 ways to $5 million, but the reality is that it absolutely is. It's just inner work, and inner work isn't necessarily the sexiest thing to do, and I'm aware of that. And so I want to make this really honest and really open for you. If you are struggling with finding the right kind of help, and you really do want to unlearn childhood conditioning and heal your trauma so that you can live on your terms and do business your way, reach out to me. I have one-to-one space available, and we can wipe all of this out so that you can really step in to self-trust, so that you can step into your power, and so that you can create magnetic energy. And that's exactly what we all want, right? Because that ultimately creates living on your terms and doing business your way. But let's get into the 3 main reasons why you self-sabotage, other than childhood trauma and unhealthy childhood conditioning. The first reason why we self-sabotage is because we're not ultimately following our heart or following our soul. And I know that there is this huge misconception that when we get our heart broken, when we get hurt, we automatically say things like, I'm never going to let that happen again. I'm always going to pick logically or make decisions logically. I'm going to protect my heart. I'm not going to let my heart get walked all over again. Business is all logical, or whatever the case may be. There's no emotions attached to my business. We could just go on and on and on. The thing is that your heart is supposed to be leading you, not your mind. And your mind is not supposed to be leading you because it distorts information. It's basically, especially if it is unhealed and untrained, it is programmed for fear. It is programmed to keep you safe. It is programmed based on primitive days. So your job is to ultimately understand that your mind's job is to keep you safe, and that you are supposed to lead with your heart, because your heart knows exactly what it is that you desire. Your heart knows how to lead. Your heart comes from compassion, from empathy, and ultimately that's why you're here, right? Your heart is totally connected to your soul, and it knows exactly what it is that you want. Your mind does not. Your mind does whatever it does to keep you safe. So people that have experienced heartbreak or believe that they have had their heart walked all over is actually not true. Because people think that having their heart open means that they don't that they don't have any boundaries, that they don't cut people off and all of those things, but it actually means the quite opposite. Your heart being open also means that you have your best interest in mind at all times. So that means that unfortunately you do cut people off. Unfortunately you do, and I don't want to say unfortunately you do have boundaries, but you do have boundaries in place, because really the truth is that the only person that you unconditionally love is yourself, if you learn how to do that. So if you are ultimately running business and your life with your mind, you will self-sabotage. And you will self-sabotage because it's not truly what it is that you desire. It's not truly what it is that you want. And ultimately, your mind is running the show that is trying to keep you safe. So naturally, you're going to self-sabotage. And you're going to self-sabotage because your mind wants you to stay safe. And that means that we don't do things that feel uncomfortable. That means that we don't do things that feel good, because we might also fear success and fear happiness, right? We always think that we fear failure and fear sadness, but ultimately we know what those are like, right? So how do we fear something that we know what it's like? So it's usually the opposite of what we feel. And in order to get there, we have to allow our hearts to run the show. And how do you operate with an open heart? Number one, you've got to heal from childhood trauma. You've got to unlearn unhealthy childhood conditioning, and Gene Keys will actually point you in the right direction. If you're curious about that, drop me a comment and I will share more and share how you can actually get a free session with me so that we can go over your Gene Key chart if you're interested in that. Okay. The second reason why you self-sabotage is because you don't feel safe. Okay? And I know this is going to be a huge one, because most coaches, most gurus, they talk about mindset. Mindset is critical to everything. And I believe that mindset is a huge component, but I also believe it's about safety first. Because if you feel safe, within your body, internally, in your environment, in who you are, then your mind naturally shifts. And it makes things a lot easier. And when you feel safe, you are not as likely to self-sabotage. The major reason why you self-sabotage to begin with is because you do not feel safe. There's bits and pieces of you that do not fully feel safe in what it is that you're doing, who you're becoming, the actions that you're taking. And this is huge because that means that no matter what you do, there are going to be bits and parts of you that hold you back, that you may not even be aware of. And this is why mindset is not going to help you get all those bits and pieces on board with what it is that you're doing. Safety will. And how do you create safety? Well, safety is a huge component in my teachings and in my programs, because I do believe that you must feel safe within yourself before you can make any types of real shifts and real transformation. But you can actually start with my guided meditation here that will reset and rewire your nervous system so that you can come back to your divine and aligned state, which is essentially what you're after. Now, there's a whole bunch of practices and all the things that go with that. But again, if that's something that you need, that is something that I teach, but you can begin with the meditation that I linked for you. So make sure you check that out because it is super, super powerful. And actually, my one-to-one clients have an updated version of that that is exclusive to my one-to-one clients. So you want to make sure that you feel safe. The third reason why you self-sabotage is because of self-rejection and self-abandonment. Now, everybody thinks that rejection and abandonment comes from outside of us, but the truth is abandonment and rejection actually comes internally. It has everything to do with us rather than other people. What happens is that when we're children, okay, we're going to get a little bit into that unhealthy childhood conditioning. When we're children, if we see our caregivers upset or yelling at us or we're getting in trouble, we essentially break off from those pieces of us that caused us to be reprimanded, that caused us to feel rejected, that caused us to feel like we weren't receiving any love or we weren't getting the attention that we need. So eventually what happens is we're whole, right? And then these bits and pieces of us break off that we've essentially rejected and abandoned. And so when we want to be seen and heard in our business, especially in the online space, we end up playing small because we are letting these pieces of us that we've once rejected and abandoned kind of be seen, but we automatically self-sabotage because these bits and pieces of us don't feel fully safe being seen and heard because of the rejection and abandonment we've actually have caused. And this is why it is so huge for you to create safety, but also do parts work to heal these bits and pieces of you. And if you are interested in healing and integrating these parts of you so that you will quit self-sabotage, I am actually releasing my Self-Sabotage Slayer course very soon. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you leave a comment and I will give you the link to it. So these are the reasons why you self-sabotage, okay? It has everything to do with you internally. And I know that that sucks, but it also means that you are in control of it and you can change it and you can shift it. And I know usually you're expecting journal prompts and things like that, but I do not have them. We're about to do huge shifts in the universe show that I'm super excited about. But if you do want to have a meditation on self-sabotage, I will link the self-sabotage video for you here so that you can check that out. There's actually an activation at the end so that you can really release that and dive into self-sabotage. But these are the main reasons why you self-sabotage. And again, if you feel like you need extra help on this, reach out to me. And while I have you, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, you like and leave a comment. This helps me expand my reach and be able to expand reach to other people that may potentially need to hear my message so that they can live on their terms and do business their way. And I will see you later. Bye.